Good morning everybody, and welcome to the start of the spring term. A very different start to the term, of course, and up until yesterday I was expecting to be seeing most of you back in school today. Now I should imagine that you've either heard by watching the Prime Minister yourself, or the adults at home may well have told you that we're now entering another lockdown, and that does mean that we can't have all the children at school. And that's a really sad thing in lots of ways, and we really will miss you in school. There's a really good thing though, is that by having a lockdown it helps everybody to stay safe. So we'll have less children in school and lots of you learning nice and safely at home. So that's a really, really good thing. Now of course we'll miss you, but we'll be keeping in touch with you, and we'll be working hard today to get all your learning from home ready. And we expect everybody to take part in that learning from home. Now, as today's first assembly of the year, I'm going to share with you a poem. Now it's from this book called The Book of Hopes, and this was produced in the first lockdown. And the poem I found is, it's quite funny, but it also has a really important message, and it's called The Hopopotamus, and it's by Greg James and Chris Smith. In a drought, in the dust, on a dry riverbed, a sad hippopotamus hung his grey head. He'd had nothing to drink since the start of this week. If he didn't find water, things could get quite bleak. The hippo was sad, and the hippo was hot. But did he sit down and give in? Of course not. He remembered the words of a wise old giraffe that he'd heard long ago when he'd been a young calf. There'll be times in your life when your road will be tough. You'll be tempted to say that you've had quite enough. There'll be people that try and convince you to stop, and you'll feel that you're just about ready to drop. But those are the times that you've got to keep moving, and with every small step you will see things improving. Just point any way that seems hopeful to you. You move 1 foot forwards, then foot number 2. Then follow this up with your other 2 feet, then return to foot 1, and repeat and repeat. Remember these words, said the wise old giraffe to our hero the hippo when he was a calf. So the hippopotamus nodded his head. I'll keep plodding and see where I get to, he said. And he looked all around at the arid terrain and thought, will I ever find water again? Ahead, a high mountain rose up in the distance. It looked rocky and steep, but with hippo persistence, he decided he'd walk till he had overcome it, in case there were better things over the summit. First, he came to a desert, which wasn't too handy. It was hard to walk through, rather slippy and sandy. A camel was sitting on top of a dune, and he told the hippo, you absolute loon, turn around, go back, or you'll look like a chump. There's no water this way, except this in my hump. But the hippopotamus shook his head. Just a bit further, he boldly said. 1 step at a time he continued his journey, till he came to a jungle, dark, dank, green and ferny. The jungle was thick, and the creepers were creeping, and a large sloth hung down from a branch looking sleepy. This forest, it goes on for miles, he said, yawning. Why don't you just hang here with me till the morning? The hippo, though tempted, again shook his head. Just a bit further, he bravely said. He plunged on through the jungle, and after a while he arrived at the mountain, the ultimate trial. Poor hippo was tired, almost giving up hope, but 1 step at a time he pushed up the slope. The mountain was rocky and strewn with huge boulders. The stones hurt his feet, and the sun scorched his shoulders. A lion sat there on a rocky outcropping, and the lion called out, you're much better off stopping. But the hippopotamus shook his head. Just a bit further, he proudly said. His heart was heavy, his feet were so sore, but he climbed and he climbed, 1 step, then 1 step more. And just when he was feeling ready to drop, he finally realised he'd reached the top. And a splendid sight met his eyes when he looked down, a wide, muddy waterhole, gleaming and brown. He could see lots of sploshing. Someone was there bathing. A hippo, a friend, and they seemed to be waving. And the hippopotamus nodded his head. I'm glad I chose to keep going, he said. Then a voice from behind him called out, we were wrong. The lion, the sloth and the camel had followed along. And the animals cried, you're more brave than the lot of us. Hip, hip, hooray for the Hopopotamus. Well, I hope you understood the main message there was actually how important it is to keep going. And I think during this lockdown, that'll be a really important message for all of us, to keep going just day at a time, trying our really best with whatever challenges are thrust upon us. So everybody, have a really good day, and I will be in touch very, very soon. Bye bye for now.